Repeat with me. Don't just listen. Good morning, Mark. I see here that you are applying for a job and you need a full medical check before they accept you. This is a routine process, so don't worry. But I will ask you many questions about your daily habits and lifestyle. Good morning, doctor. Yes, I understand. And yes, I'm here to apply for a job. I'm ready to answer everything honestly because I really want to pass this test. Good. Honesty is very important here. Remember that, please. Let's start with something simple. How often do you exercise during the week? Oh, okay. I usually exercise about 4 or 5 times a week. I like to stay active and I try to keep a consistent routine, especially in the mornings. That's good. All right. Now, when you say you usually exercise, what kind of activities do you do? Is it always the same or do you change it? I normally go running 3 times a week and I also go to the gym. I don't do the same thing every day because I get bored easily. So I mix cardio and strength training. I see. That sounds good. That sounds like a healthy habit. Now tell me, how often do you feel tired or without energy during the day? Well, I have to say that I rarely feel tired. It's not normal. Most of the time, I have good energy because I sleep well and eat properly. That's interesting. You know, many people your age feel tired very often, but you say you rarely feel that way. That's a good sign. Good for you. Let's talk about sleep. How often do you sleep at least 7 or 8 hours per night? I almost always sleep 7 or 8 hours. I think sleep is very important, so I try to go to bed early. Excellent. People who almost always sleep well tend to have better physical and mental health. This is important. Do you ever stay up late? I sometimes stay up late, especially on weekends or when I travel, but not very often. All right. Now let's talk about your diet. How often do you eat fast food? I hardly ever eat fast food, maybe once a month or less. I prefer cooking at home. That's very good. People who hardly ever eat fast food usually have better long term health. All right, next question is, what do you usually eat during a normal day? I usually eat fruits, vegetables, chicken, and rice. I try to keep it simple and healthy. And what about sugar? How often do you eat sweets or desserts? I sometimes eat sweets, but not every day. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week. That's acceptable. The problem is when people eat sugar very often or always. But in your case, it seems controlled. That's good. Now, let's talk about something important. How often do you drink alcohol? I occasionally drink alcohol, mostly in social situations. I don't drink every week. Wait, when you say occasionally, can you be more specific? Um, Maybe once or twice a month. I don't enjoy drinking too much. Drinking occasionally is not a problem, but drinking regularly can affect your health. Now, I need to ask you directly, do you smoke? And if yes, how often? Smoke? Um, no, I never smoke. Honestly, I've never liked it. That's one of the best answers I can hear. People who never smoke reduce many health risks. What about stress? How often do you feel stressed in your daily life? I sometimes feel stressed, especially when I have many responsibilities. But I try to manage it with exercise and rest. I feel good right now, not stressed. That's a good strategy. People who manage stress actively tend to stay healthier. Now, tell me, do you feel stressed regularly or only in specific situations? No, only in specific situations. I don't feel stressed all the time. Let's talk about your social life. How often do you meet your friends or family? My friends? Well, I regularly meet my friends, maybe once or twice a week, and I see my family almost always on weekends. I love spending time with them. That's excellent because social connection is very important. People who rarely see others can feel isolated. Many people don't know that. Now, a different question. How often do you travel or go out of your routine? I often travel when I can. I like exploring new places and I take short trips whenever I have time. So, you often travel. You exercise regularly, you sleep well, and you eat healthy. That's a very active lifestyle. I am surprised. Now, something more personal. How often do you feel bored with your routine? I hardly ever feel bored because I like to stay busy and try new things. That's interesting. Let me tell you that many people feel bored very often. But you seem to have a dynamic lifestyle. All right, Mark. So far, your answers show that you have very good habits. You exercise regularly, you almost always sleep well, you rarely eat unhealthy food, and you never smoke. Those things are very good. But now I want to understand something deeper about your life. Mark, I want to continue with a few more questions, but this time I want to understand your lifestyle at a deeper level. So, you say you travel often, you exercise regularly, and you almost always sleep well. That tells me you are a very active person. So, let me ask you this. How often do you spend long hours sitting without moving? Honestly, I hardly ever sit for long hours. I don't like staying in one place too much. I prefer to move, walk, or do something active during the day. I am always moving. That's very interesting because most people today sit for many hours every day. Your body is clearly used to movement, not to inactivity. That's what I see. Now tell me, how often do you work in environments that are repetitive or monotonous? I hardly ever work in repetitive environments. I normally look for variety in what I do because I get bored very fast if everything is the same. I need different things. So you rarely do repetitive work and you usually prefer dynamic situations. How often do you feel excited about new challenges or new experiences? Well, honestly, I almost always feel excited about new experiences. I like learning new things, visiting new places, and trying different activities. Yes, that's what I notice. That shows a very strong personality. People who almost always look for new experiences tend to have a very active and curious mind. Now, I want to ask you about your daily routine again, but from a different perspective. Tell me, how often do you follow the exact same schedule every day? Same schedule. I sometimes follow a schedule, but I don't like strict routines. I prefer flexibility. So I change my activities depending on how I feel. So you sometimes follow a routine, but you don't live in a fixed structure. That's very different from many traditional jobs. Now, Mark, I'm going to ask you something. Something that is not only medical, it's about your life. Tell me, this job you are applying for, how often will you need to sit during the day? Well, I will be sitting almost all day, maybe 10 to 12 hours in front of a computer. 10 to 12 hours? Wow, that's many hours. It's a difficult job. So you will be sitting almost always during your workday with very little movement. And how often will you have breaks to move, walk, or exercise during those hours? I think rarely, maybe short breaks, but not much time to move. Mark, let me tell you, this is very interesting. Let me summarize what I see. You are a person who usually exercises, who often travels, who almost always sleeps well, who rarely feels bored, and who hardly ever stays inactive. And now you want a job where you will sit almost always, move rarely, and follow a routine that is very repetitive. Yes, but the job pays very well, and I thought it was a good opportunity. I understand that money is important, but let me ask you something deeper and be honest. How often do you choose money over your lifestyle? Well, I I don't know. I guess I sometimes do that. And how often do you think about your long-term happiness, not just your short-term benefits? Um, I usually think about it, but maybe not enough. Mark, you have built a life where you are active, healthy, and mentally balanced. You take care of your body, you explore the world, and you maintain good habits. So, after all this, I need to ask you something very important. Why do you want a job that goes against almost everything you usually do? Well, I think I didn't see it like that before. I was just thinking about stability and money, not about how it could affect my daily life. That's very common. Many people choose jobs that don't match their personality or lifestyle. And after some time, they feel tired, unhappy, or even sick. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but based on what you told me, this job does not match the way you live. You are someone who moves, explores, and changes. When you say it like that, it doesn't feel right anymore. This job will limit that. Exactly. Sometimes we focus so much on external rewards that we forget what makes us feel alive. I almost always feel happy when I'm active, when I travel, when I try new things, and this job could take that away. I think I don't want this job anymore. I still want to work, of course. In fact, I need to work. I need money, but I want something that allows me to live my life, not something that controls it. That's the key. Work should support your life, not replace it. Thank you, doctor. I came here for a medical test, but I got something more important. Sometimes the best diagnoses are not about the body, but about the direction of your life. From now on, I will choose more carefully, not just what pays well, but what fits my life. That's a very honest conclusion, and that's a decision you will rarely regret, right? I hope you liked this conversation. If you could improve your English a little more, please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend. And if you want to support this channel, you can join us. Thank you very much for your support. Take care.